This is the Park Shore Coin and Collectibles Hour with your host, Scott Heiligman, on Fox Sports Radio. Today, we will discuss all the latest information and hottest trends on everything from coins and sterling silver to baseball cards, vintage toys, and a whole lot more. Find information about the show at www.parkshorecoin.com. That's www.parkshorecoin.com. And now, your host, Scott Heiligman.
Welcome to this week's Park Shore Coins and Collectibles Hour. We're in the studio with owner and host of Park Shore Coins and Collectibles, Scott Heiligman. Hey, Scott. Hey, we're back in the studio, and we love our lives here in Southwest Florida and where we live. You know, if you listen to that opening, it pretty much tells you everything you need to know about what this show is about. You know, it's everything collectible.
That's right.
And you're the man in Southwest Florida that understands everything collectible.
That's right.
For those of you that are new to the show,
We do our best.
that's it. Scott owns Park Shore Coin and Golden Coin in Naples. His office is off of Immokalee Road, and he specializes in everything. Anything collectible, whether it's large or small groups of jewelry, coins, sports memorabilia, baseball cards, vintage toys, musical instruments.
Yeah, those can be good.
We talked about it last
But
week in the show.
sometimes they can be tough too. Like I've been having, because they need to be in pristine condition a lot of times.
Mhm.
Otherwise, to get them up and working and up to a standard where you're going to retail them again,
Right.
it costs a lot of money to do that, to repair. And sometimes they can't do it, especially on vintage guitars. But we will look at anything.
Right.
If you really have an item that you just don't know if you're going to be able to get something for it. I'm usually the last stop too. When people say, "Is there anywhere else that will buy this item?" I'm like, I don't think so.
Right.
I'm going to be the one taking the most chances down here in Southwest Florida on items. Most people either specialize just in jewelry, just in coins, this or that.
Right.
Just in antiques.
Right.
Some people don't have sports memorabilia. I do a lot of that. Being able to So we are the jack of all trades, and we'd be happy to take a look at anything. Free appraisals. You bring it in. I say, hey, this is what we would buy it for. Here's why we would buy it for that, or here's why we would pass on it.
And it could be estates that are large or small.
Small, yeah, either one, yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't
one
make a
item,
difference to me.
one item or 100
Yeah,
items.
yeah.
I mean, you've talked about spending hours and hours at a client's
Oh,
home,
for sure.
going through
Taking
item
a
by
week
item.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, their collections are so big that when the mark is daily, it's moving, right? It's so sometimes you have to, if it's big enough, you have to do it over the course of 10 days.
Right.
It's just take little chunks at it.
Before we came on the air, you and I were talking about some of the obstacles that you run into in your business. And I guess when I say obstacles, I guess you could really replace that word with risks.
Challenges.
Challenges.
Yeah,
There's
risks.
all kinds of
Yeah.
adjectives. Risk, challenges.
No 2 days are the
obstacles,
it's always
hurdles.
fun. A lot of hurdles.
A lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
But and I was asking you, do you often run into things that are not necessarily perplexing, but maybe you feel like someone's trying to get something over on you?
Yeah.
We hear the word scammers out there now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the internet, it's
Oh,
made
yeah.
things so people easily conned.
Yeah.
You run into things like that, don't you?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a target for that, of
Yeah.
course, because I cash out people's goods,
Mhm.
so they're obviously going to attempt to try and sell me things. A crazy one that came in last week is you'll see down here those big Cuban links, like necklaces that people wear.
Right.
Now it'll say 14 karat on there, right? And maybe these things are 200 grams. I mean, heavy Cuban
Yeah.
links. And it's 14 karat. You do the acid test, 14 karat, everything checks out. It's real gold. But then when it comes down to melt it, on big pieces like that, when they're selling 300 grams, I'm usually not going to be able to retail it back to a customer.
Right.
There's very few people who are looking for chains that big. So we're buying it for the bullion. And then when it gets melted down, it's made out of 8 karat or 10 karat. So just
Okay.
the outer layer, and the outer layer was 14 karat, and the rest is. So little things like that. And they know that, and maybe they don't know that. Maybe their jeweler, when they bought it, didn't tell them that. They sold it as 14, and now it's, because the cost is, think about it, if it's 300 grams at 14 karat, versus 300 grams at 10 karat, you're talking about, a huge difference, 20%, 30%.
And you something those I don't want to use the word scams, but those hustles, I guess, seem very elaborate.
A lot of hustle. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they know what they're doing most of the time.
So a lot of thought goes into something
Yeah.
like that.
A lot of times I won't take it. So customers will also, it's called shot. So gold, when it's made prior to jewelry, it's in these little beads. right? And the jewelers then take that, melt it, but it's in these little beads and they're in big bags. And these things are traded by the kilos,
Right.
right? Big amounts. And it's not abnormal for someone to come in with a kilo of gold, which is $32,000 approximately in this shot. And then they will have 5 or 10 be like, hey, melt these down, melt these down. You can assay them. And those ones are good 24 karat. And then the rest in the middle of the bag, which look like it, they're all 8 karat, but they have that outside.
Yeah.
So you just have to pass on it. Park Shore Coin doesn't, deal in things like that. No, we can send it out, have it assayed, and pay you at the end.
Right.
More than happily. So any normal customer, once I present it that way, they'll be like, all right, Scott, yeah, send it off to your smelters. We're going to get an exact number because even the spectrometer gun isn't going to be 100% accurate of what the contents are. You have to melt it. And then you have to assay it.
Well, that would lead me into the next observation, and that is if you're listening to the show and you have some jewelry and maybe it's not marked or over time things wear a little bit, you don't know whether you're looking at 10, 12, 14, 18 karat gold. You can do tests on it at your office.
Yeah.
So bring it into Scott.
Yeah.
Let him take a look at it. He'll do those different tests. He's got all
Diamond
the
tests too,
machinery.
yeah. If you have diamonds, you don't know if it's real or if
Right.
it's lab grown.
Right.
Those are very big right now. People will try to pass off lab grown stones.
Yeah.
And
some of those are pretty good the way they.
they're
created them.
identical, yeah. I mean, unless you've been looking at stones all day, every day for 40 years, some of them you can't even distinguish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a good resource for a listener that says, you know what, I've inherited some jewelry, I've inherited some coins, I have my lifelong collection of baseball cards. I want to get an evaluation. Scott will do that. He's text friendly.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give out your number. It's 239-961-0816. That's 239-961-0816. And you mentioned free evaluations earlier in the show.
People they call all the time, Scott, I just want to know what I have.
Yeah.
I'll let you be happily, and I'll make a bid to buy it too.
Sure.
So-
And some things you have to see, but then there are other things you
Oh
get
yeah,
pictures
text
of.
me a picture of,
Yeah.
if you have a Morgan dollar
Yeah.
or a silver dollar or a Mickey Mantle, baseball card. And these things I can do 90% of the due diligence over text message, over email, over phone. You don't always have to bring it in. That's why as we're expanding, I'm having a lot of customers from all over the country mail stuff into me now. Now that they've heard and see the reviews that I'm an honest buyer and will give a good bid, they'll send their stuff in and then I'll send them a check.
Right.
I'll call them first, be like, hey, this is what I'm going to pay on this, and this. Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
So that's good. I mean, it's really morphed into being able to do that.
Once you get to know Scott, and I want to say this to our listeners, you'll come back and do business with him again and again because he's a likable person and he's honest. He's highly recommended. You can go to his website. You can look at reviews. You can look at some of the things that he buys, and it's at parkshorecoin.com.
Yep.
And you can also ask him a question on his website or text him a question. As a matter of fact, we like to during the shows. Recognize a listener and a question that the person's posed. And here's a question that Tyler in Bonita Springs sent you. He says, I'm a long-time listener. I inherited several boxes of sports stuff. I don't know what stuff means, but next to it he says, cards, jerseys, balls, signed. Can you help me determine value?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would suggest that Tyler bring the stuff in.
Yeah, either bring it in or category it, and
Yeah.
an email and say, hey, I have a Ted Williams autographed jersey.
Right.
Some of the items we're going to have to, like we talked about, send off to get authenticated. And so you're going to want to have the higher end All-Stars and Hall of Famers. That's what you're kind of always looking for.
Right.
When dealing with autographs, baseball bats.
Those are going to have the
you
highest
want the Hall of
value.
Famers.
Yeah.
And then if you want to get morbid with it, you want the ones that are no longer with us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that kind of helps you, at least with the baseball cards. Because if it's a baseball player who's a Hall of Famer who's still alive and you have his 18th year baseball card, like a Nolan Ryan, it's probably not going to be worth that much.
Right.
Even a Nolan Ryan baseball,
Yeah.
Autographed. It's worth something. But when you're talking about $75 to $100 to authenticate it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ball's maybe worth $100, $200 authenticated.
Right.
So
And you would recommend, and that's why someone
you
could
have
come to
to.
you.
Yeah, I mean-
and you could say, hey, this isn't worth authenticating.
right, and we can sell it as, hey, I'm Nolan Ryan's best friend. You might be his best friend, and that's what it's real. you guys were on the baseball team together,
Right.
or you guys golfed together at the
Right.
whatever,
Right.
and you know it was him. But that doesn't, I have to explain that to my customers when I try to retail it or put it into an auction house. That means nothing to my buyers.
No.
When I tell them that my person was sitting next to him on a golf cart, and that's where he got it. I mean, it sounds wonderful, but they want the actual COA, Certificate of Authenticity, from James Spencer Authentication.
Right.
And that, takes
And
a
not all
fee.
COAs are the same either.
No, you want theirs or PSA or Beckett. There's only
Okay.
3 companies that do it.
When you're dealing with
Yeah,
baseball
otherwise
cards.
the other ones, you'll see other ones that don't mean anything.
Right.
They're very gimmicky.
Right. So
But yeah, but I'll be happy to look at them. And yeah, that's how you kind of want to sort them out. Even when you're going through the baseball cards, Hall of Famers, to a lesser extent, All-Stars.
right.
And that's, it's not the end of the world. And then once you have those, is your card in very good condition? Does it have creases? Are the corners soft? Are they bent? Are the edges? How's the coloring? You
Right.
can do a lot more than you think yourself
Right.
if you just kind of know what you're looking for. And so I kind of try to direct, from my own perspective, to help me save some time when the customer comes in. I like having all that stuff out of the way. Okay, I know we're going to be getting in some, on a scale of 1 to 10, a bunch of 3 and 4s, baseball cards, but they're all Hall of Famers from the 60s and 70s. So it's going to take our time. We'll have to go through each one. And some of those cards, I mean, depending on the condition, it can be, if it's raw now, which means you haven't sent it in to get graded, it's just the card, they can vary from $40 to $200. Just by putting it online, you can hardly tell the difference in the card.
Right.
So you really,
I think an advantage.
it's very hard to buy, so you have to bring it in. And
An advantage that a listener would have in dealing with you or getting to know you as a friend and using your guidance is that you have seen so many baseball cards.
Yeah.
Just use those as an example. You know how PSA grades them. You know what to look for.
Sure.
Through magnification, you kind of get an idea. I would think that you could get close to that grade.
Oh,
Say,
yeah.
You know what? This is a
Within
6
1 or 2. Yeah.
or 7. But it would cost you $150 to send it in to have it graded. So, here's what I would recommend. You can make recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely.
If
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
valuable enough to warrant spending the money,
Yeah.
then you say to the client, "Let's do it." Other than that, you'll buy right on the spot.
I like buying them just raw as they are and
Yeah.
keeping them like that.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Cards that are a grade 2, 3, 4, 5, they're really not worth sending in because the high premiums come when you get to 6 and 7s and 8s.
right.
Yeah, when you're sending in mid-tier grades, you're now just deducting. We are just putting more money into that card.
But an average guy that wants
A
to
lot of collectors like them
jump
raw.
into the
Some people
market,
don't even
yeah.
like cards that are in. They like to still look through them.
Yeah.
Or put them in a sleeve. Because when you put them in a slab and get graded, they're in a big plastic case. You no longer can feel the card.
right,
You know.
they'd rather have them in a plastic sleeve.
Yeah, and if you want to take it out and hold it,
Plus, guys that are maybe collecting certain teams or certain eras, you can't afford to buy these high grade cards. So you want a mid grade where you spent decent money. It's in good shape. You can
That's
sleeve
right.
it yourself. You say, hey, I spent $50 on that card,
Yep.
but I know that
I now have a
the
mantle,
The high
you
grade
know?
could be worth $600, but
Yeah.
I've now got a Mickey Mantle.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to collect.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with coins, isn't it? Because you see a lot of coins.
Very similar. Yep.
Coin conditions.
Oh, yeah.
We think of weight. We think of just face
Silver
value.
precious metals in them.
Right.
That's the only difference. They can be elevated in price because there's so much precious metal.
Right.
I mean, you get an old $20 St. Gaudens, it's got almost
Yeah.
$1,900 worth of gold, 1,800.96 ounces. So, and that's just a 21 of many, many coins
Right.
of that era.
Right.
There's not too many baseball cards from 1921 that are worth 2,000,
Yeah.
and there weren't 100,000 of them made. Like there
Right.
were St. Gaudens and double eagles and $20 gold,
Yeah.
$10 gold pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, the economy, the world is littered with them,
Yeah.
and they have high value. And
It's-
they're very collectible, and they're kind of under the radar for a lot of people. They've kind of been secluded to a very small subset of people. But ever since the pandemic, collecting and people have started to awaken to the fact of putting their money into other things than just the dollar or just that, because that fluctuates. And as gas prices go up, your dollar becomes worse. And so hopefully the silver, you can then go up with it,
Right.
or at least in theory, gold goes up higher.
Right.
And then you can sell that as you go and then buy the gasoline
Yeah.
or buy all the other goods that are going up in price.
Right.
You have somebody like me in town who's going to give you pretty much, what spot prices are close with a small transaction fee
Yeah.
and just kind of do it that way. That's why it's very important to have someone you trust locally
Mhm.
where when you're buying the product, it's real. Because I test it with all my machinery, and I don't buy. That's one thing I haven't done yet. I haven't bought anything fake. No coins. The jewelry, sure. Fake diamonds, sure. But never a gold coin. Nothing of that sort. Never a fake slab. Knock on wood.
Right.
It's always been
Right.
jewelry or a fake necklace or
Yeah.
gold-filled necklace that tests. Because gold-filled necklaces test as real gold on the acid. Because
Right.
there's real gold on the outside.
Right.
But when you buy bullion, things like that, you really want to make sure, because we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that people were buying silver eagles for $20 a piece when Park Shore Coin was buying them from the public for 30.
Right.
So you have to know the smell test is a little bit off when somebody's selling something for 20 and the local coin shop or the coin buyer's buying them at 30, and you think you can just bring them into Park Shore Coin and you have that coin, you're very grossly mistaken.
Right. There's a reason why you bought it.
There's a
so
reason
cheaply.
why.
Yeah.
Some people don't know, so they've never been into precious metals. That's why I think having a show like this is great, and our YouTube channel is great because you can introduce people to the beginning of it. Because
Right.
sometimes that is just the entry point of a silver collector.
Mhm.
They go on and buy a tube of silver eagles for $700,
Right.
and then they comp them all over the place. They say, "Well, everyone's selling them for 750. These ones are 580." I mean, maybe it doesn't look that ludicrous to that person.
Right.
It looks crazy
don't
to me, but
understand it.
maybe they just don't know. Maybe it's just like sunglasses that have huge markups.
Yeah.
That maybe you can find the same pair for 500 that's 850 on another website.
Right.
So it's not that crazy. A lot of times they're not trying to get over on you. Sometimes they are. And I think sometimes they're somewhere in the middle where they know something's up, but they're going to try to pass it along and make that money.
Yeah.
They
So
don't care who's getting in their way.
So, we're talking about you buying coins and baseball cards, sports memorabilia, collectibles. Not only do you buy these things, but you also sell.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got a great market.
Yeah, of course.
For all those things.
Everything gets resold. I don't have like if you want to come in and buy coins, we handle it that way, but it's not like a jewelry store. I'm just like a big wholesale dealer. And a lot of the stuff's on parkshorecoin.com. We sell it on our website or on our eBay site. A lot of it goes on there.
Right.
But that's how it goes. I mean, the bullion's that's just kind of how that industry is. Everything's just kind of changed with the internet and how we all do business, in that capacity. Everything can be done, because it all gets mailed all over the place anyway.
Right. I mean, you're shipping things all over the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
But if you want to come into Park Shore Coin and buy a little bit, we do that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to start an investment portfolio aside from our mutual funds and our 401ks.
Great savings account.
Actually should have some hard assets. And hard assets, like we've talked about in past shows, could start with simple junk silver.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's a hard asset that you can liquidate very quickly.
Yeah.
Other things you can't. Other hard assets take days to weeks to unload.
It's amazing to me. I've been researching coins, silver coins, pre-1964, and the amount of money that some of these peace dollars and some of the other dollars that I've seen, gold coins, what they're bringing, or excuse me, silver coins, what they're bringing, that's amazing.
They're setting all-time records. All the auction houses, Sotheby's, all the high-end ones, all the big coin ones, heritage auctions, they're all setting records right now.
Right.
I think it's going to taper back as we get into a recession. I think it's always, there's two theories. A lot of people say the high-end collectible coins are the ones that take the biggest hit. So put your money into bullion.
Okay.
Right? So if you have a Carson City that's worth $5,000, it's $22 worth of silver.
Right.
They say these high-end collectibles are the ones that take the biggest hit. Now, what I see at Park Shore Coin is a lot of what's called the GSA Hoard Morgan silver dollars. They come in a slab, and they're all uncirculated, and then they were found in big bank bags, and then they were redistributed. 2 years ago, those were $175. Now, silver was at about $13 an ounce, okay? And these I could get for about $125 to $150. Now they're $400. Same coin. Silver has doubled, right? It's gone from 13 to 23, but these collectibles have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
So this coin, there's tons of these. We'll put one up on the website.
Yeah.
And, these are just, you can't get rid of them fast enough at $350.
There are shows on cable that are devoted to
Yes.
selling you
very
Morgan silver
similar.
dollars.
Yeah, very similar.
It's amazing.
And so that's the thing. So people say, those are the ones that are going to take a hit. But what I see is the top percentage of people are still getting the money. It's not like the money's disappearing.
Right.
It's just kind of going somewhere.
Right.
And if those are the people who are buying it, it's just going to keep going up too.
Yeah.
If you just have, you know what I mean? Especially in these really rare coins, like that they say that are going to be the ones that take a hit. I don't know. I don't know.
So when you're
There's a lot of
looking at
factors,
when you're looking at selling or buying, let's go from a buyer standpoint. You look at intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm.
You research. You know that a Carson City Morgan,
How rare it is.
how many were minted,
Exactly.
what the mint mark is, if it's right, if it's true.
Pretty straightforward.
Using that,
Yeah.
you look at you'll pay a premium dollar for that. Whereas a lot of Morgans or other dollars like peace dollars are just, there's so many that were printed that really beyond weight and just a normal value, they're not real
Right.
expensive.
In a Morgan silver dollar, there's about $16 worth of silver.
Okay,
It's like 0.7 ounces.
right,
I buy them starting off at like 23, 24.
right.
It's a pretty significant premium,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it's pretty much like an ounce of silver, 30, 40% premium. Wasn't always like that. Before COVID, back in the day, I'm buying these things for $10 all day and selling them for 15.
Right,
13. When silver was $13 an ounce, we got $10 in silver there.
right.
You're just not going to find people who are going to pay much more than 10, 15. Now you can't get rid of them for less than 28, 30.
It's
Even
amazing.
unless they're in really, really poor condition,
It's amazing.
people still pay $4 or $5 over spot
Right.
price because there used to be a United States $1 bill, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of value to that.
It's
It's
there's
pretty
something,
cool,
There's
you
something
know?
to be said for that
Yeah.
because I've been also watching since we've started this show months and months ago. I'm also monitoring the markets and I'm looking at auctions around the country and all of this so-called junk silver, Liberty dimes,
The high grade ones.
quarters, peace dollars, Morgan dollars. I noticed that like Liberty dimes, 10 cents. I remember not many years ago that it was worth 10 times.
Mercury dimes.
Yeah, Mercury dimes. 10 times you could buy one for $1. 10 times its value. Well, now I see them in auctions and they're $3, $4, $5.
Oh, sure. The high grade ones, hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars if you've got a really good one with
Yeah,
the right
yeah.
marking on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And if you're not sure what those markings are, you need to take them into Scott.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give you out your phone number again. Now, don't hesitate to text him or call him. The number is 239-961-0816. He welcomes the call. He's also text friendly. Again, it's 239-961-0816, or reach out to him through his website at parkshorecoin.com. That's parkshorecoin.com. And again, he mentioned early in the show, he does a free evaluation. You can send him some pictures. Make a list of what you have so that he doesn't have to parse through the photographs trying to figure out what you've got here. And he'll be able to
Saves
tell you
everyone time.
quickly.
Yeah, for
Save
sure.
you some time.
Yeah.
Or
A one-man band.
you're a
for the most
one-man
part,
band.
For the most part.
And the other thing that I'm going to throw out there that if you've listened to the show before, Scott will make house calls.
Yep.
So he will come and see you, and that's rare these days. If you've got a collection, you just say, it's too much weight, or it's got too much value. I don't want to chug it over to his office. Hey, come and see me.
I just want to know, and a lot of times it's because they're not selling.
Right.
They just kind of want to know what they have. They
Right.
want to keep it in their safe
Sure.
or displayed as it is at their house, on their walls, or just in their drawer. And just say, hey, Scott, this is what I have. What do you think it's worth?
Right.
What would you buy it for? And sometimes they sell part of it, sometimes none of it, sometimes all of it.
You've mentioned that
You know?
many times someone that is in their later years is trying to figure out values for children and grandchildren, and they want to be fair. So, hey, go through my coin collection and tell me what's the overall value, and then I'll figure out how to parcel it out.
Yep.
You see that a lot. And I'm guessing
Divvy
that's
it up.
Yeah, how we're going to divvy this up. You've worked with insurance companies. You work with law firms.
Yeah.
You know what has to be
Estates.
done when an estate's going to be dismantled.
Sure.
But anyway,
Yeah,
again,
and we do it quickly too. This isn't a process that has to take long.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
Right.
These things, a lot of times, these people come across their items on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday they figure out what they have, and it's time to sell it. A lot of times, like you said, they have no interest in it. It's almost like a burden at this point. They've been given this vast collection from their grandparents or their parents, and now they don't even know. It's daunting because, like you've been digging into the coins a little bit. There's hundreds of coins out there.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You know, so to tackle that after dealing with the death or this or that, it's a lot. You know, to have someone on your side, it's really beneficial who will take the time to go through it with you. I have the time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how the business model is. I built it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of as the provide the service up front. Hey, you want to know what you have? I'll let you know what you have. Just give me a chance to buy it when it comes to sell, and go shop it around if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
Just to know that I'm bidding, you know, properly.
Sure.
You know?
And that's one of the
You'll
things
see that I am just bringing them back when it's time to sell.
you've always told us, hey, all I want is a chance to take a look at it and make an offer. It may not be something you want to sell right now, but maybe a month from now, a year from now, you know you've made a friend in Scott. You'll reach out to him and say, hey, you know that coin collection you looked at? I think I want to start liquidating some of that.
Or if they want to start adding to it.
Or adding to it,
you know
yeah.
what I mean, that's been happening too lately.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, you know those coins that I showed you? It's like, I want a few more of those. So anytime they come into the shop, I give them a call.
Yeah.
I do a lot of that, you know,
Right.
so people get put on a list. Oh, you're looking for a 1 ounce gold Cougaran? Well, we can do it one way. I can order from my wholesaler. You're going to spend an extra $50, extra 2-3%,
Right.
or you can wait until one comes into the shop and I'll call you. Could be in 5 minutes.
Okay.
You know, could be in 2 weeks.
So you're a lot of times acting as a conduit
Just like a
between
broker.
a seller, a broker, that's it. Between a seller and a
Without a
buyer.
doubt, just moving it.
Somebody knows what they want. You know a guy's looking for
Yeah.
Krugerrands.
Yeah, and I know what the stuff is. So I'm
Okay.
like, just like you know, like in real estate, I am a broker. I inspect. I'm the inspector.
Inspector.
Do it
Good-
all.
well,
I'm
the
a
good thing
banker
about-
too. I'm
yeah,
a
the
mortgage
ba-
company.
Well, the
I'm
good thing
title
about
company.
collectibles is it's not so elaborate that you need to have a
Not at
lawyer.
all.
You know.
No,
Yeah.
it's very simple.
Simple. Here's the value. You can look at the
And
value.
then you can look it up. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of info. There's a ton of information online to do yourself. But if you don't have the experience and just the tertiary, primary research will be very, very complicated to navigate.
Sure.
Because the same coin that's worth $2, you'll be able to find it for $2,000. I promise you.
Yes.
On eBay.
Yes.
Because the condition. You know, you can find an MS-68 or 67 graded Liberty dime or Mercury dime that's just a common date, nothing too crazy. It's probably $1,000 just because it's like in the highest possible grade. The same one, if it comes in like it does every day, I get 20 of them a day, $1.80 each.
It's amazing.
So it's amazing. So I tell them, hey, you know, I'm buying these for $1.80. I'm selling them for $1.95 too.
Right.
That's the truth, and they're coming in thinking that they have $1,000 coin.
Right.
It's a big hit sometimes. And then sometimes they'll have tubes of them. People have hundreds of dimes. They don't just have one a lot of times. So they literally think that they
Scott,
have,
I've got $100,000 worth of dimes here.
100%.
Oh my
But if
goodness.
they were all like 1906, you know, 1916 Ds,
right.
they would be sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars. of
Right.
them, you know.
I noticed in my research that when it comes to coins, sometimes, and the condition is everything, but there are coins that have that were stamped in high relief,
Yeah.
and those are worth much more money too. And
Yeah.
they're not a lot of them because they're kind of rare,
Well, they're very rare.
very
If
rare.
you're talking the peace dollar, that's like the main one you always want to collect because in 1921 they were high. All of them were high relief.
Right.
That was the first year they made them, and it was the last year they made Morgans. So if you can find that 1922 high relief where they accidentally struck the planchets from 1921 in 1922, that's what became. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm sure.
Right.
If you have it in good.
See,
It's just because
Yeah.
it was made in high relief, which they were all made in 1921, but this one is in 1922.
Right. See, we all learned something
But
right
they're
there.
out there. you
Yeah,
know?
they're out there.
That's what it is, the high relief. And then you're also talking about the American Silver Eagles. They have high relief. They have enhanced relief.
Right.
They have a whole array of mint products that they put
Right.
out there, and they mess with the dyes. They're really cool. They're great products. But these are, you know, high premium items.
I
It
did.
always surprises me how much a mistake goes for.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I think that's some of the biggest money in coins is the misstrikes and
The
stuff
strikes,
like that.
absolutely. Well, the most famous penny, the most valuable penny is a 1955 wheat penny double die. Now, some will say, Scott, it's 1909 SVDB. No, the highest one that keeps going up is the 1955 double die. I bought a couple at the shop. I mean, they're literally starting at $1,000 now. It's just because 1955 was struck twice. Mint errors.
Isn't that amazing?
And then there's in the book that I have, I mean, they have all these different ones. And somebody just found a 1999 penny. This person it's just a normal circulated penny, but they saw a mint error on it. The coin went for $100,000 in auction. This individual knew pennies so well that he was able to see nobody's going through 1999 pennies.
No.
Looking for very few people looking for heirs. They're looking at wheat pennies. They're looking for the older, you know what I mean? And this person found one, put it in auction, and we'll have to find it and pull it up and put it on the website. It was from 1999, maybe even 2009.
And it's just because these things are so rare. I mean, they literally check every coin before it's released. So these things are very rare.
Yeah, it's a one of one for sure.
Yeah. They don't make it out of the mint, do they? If they catch an error,
They try to, they try to,
put it back.
Yeah, because usually the whole run will be screwed up.
Right.
They'll be chipped.
Right.
That's why they'll just throw it all away, remelt it,
Right.
and make new planchets.
Right. We all talk about the old.
But sometimes back in the day, they had private dealers at these mints.
Sure.
Make a little money on the side, sneak a few out the back door. I mean, what was going on back then, I can only imagine. Because that's how they also did. They would do experimental coins. Very common. A lot of the banks would put out their old gold coins, and they would get these really fancy designers in there. They would just make one coin, and then maybe they'd make 5 to give to, dignitaries, and then
Right.
give 2 to the local coin guy.
Right. Right.
And that literally would make your year or your career. Just having someone at the mint who could do that.
Almost every industry did that. I saw it was an 1864 Colt revolver that was given to General Grant, and it was one of one. Samuel Colt
priceless.
made a Colt sold for $500,000.
That's the thing. They're putting them out. They can literally make a product that's almost priceless. Yes, there's going to be a price, but when you're talking numbers like that, to me, that's priceless. When you can take something that's worth $1 to 100, 500,000.
So
almost the
you're
same
right.
thing.
I read the story about the same thing with talk about collectibles. The inverted Jenny and the stamps. The inverted Jenny and the stamps. Somebody was there to buy it. They ran a sheet, and it got parceled out.
Really?
Yeah. So there were a few out there, and private collectors bought them. This was 1909. There weren't the controls
Makes
they have
sense.
today.
Yeah.
You know what? Ian just flagged me. He said, "Hey, we've got to go to a break. If you're interested in selling your collectibles or buying collectibles or coins, you can reach Scott at 239-961-0816. You can tell there's always something to learn, something new to learn, or something to talk about. 239-961-0816 or online at parkshorecoin.com.